Hey everyone, I am so excited to share this wonderful woman with you who has so many accomplishments that it'll take me another, 20 minutes to just list them down. But what is important to me, most important to me, more than anything else, is that she talks about topics that women do not talk about. And she talks about them in a very graceful manner. I love her approach to life. I love her approach to money. I love her approach to feminism. And I'm so honored to have her with me today. Her name is Farnoosh. She is a writer. She's a journalist. She's written multiple bestsellers. She hosts a show on CNBC. She writes a financial column for the Oprah magazine. I don't even know. Are we done yet? Or can I go on and list all your accomplishments?
Well, most importantly, I'm here with you today. That's my biggest accomplishment to date right now, in the moment. Bushra, thank you so much for that generous introduction. And the feeling is so mutual. When you came on my podcast, So Money, I got so many wonderful feedback from listeners. Your story is just an inspiration, and it's an honor to be connected with you again. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you. And your most recent book, which really it's amazing for me to when she makes more, right? Yes. So when I say it's a very interesting, very bold and atypical stance on this whole financial dignity, I should say, financial dignity when it comes to women. I think that's the right term to use. And I'm going to talk about that book a little bit more. But I want to start on a personal note because I really want to see the real Farnoosh. So tell me your fondest, earliest childhood memory.
Fondest early childhood memory was when my parents brought home my brother. So for years, I was an only child up until age 10 and 9 or 10 months. I mean, I counted to the day that I finally had a sibling. All I wanted as a child growing up was a sister or a brother. I think on the one hand, that made me who I am, the fact that I'm very great being independent. I can entertain myself. I'm not someone who's like socially needy. But I always wanted to have a playmate, somebody to also mentor. I think in me, I always wanted to be a helper and a mentor and a leader. And I think having someone who's like younger than you, who's following your footsteps, that was really exciting to me. And so every holiday, birthday, Christmas, even though we didn't really celebrate Christmas, I always asked my family for a sibling, and not knowing that it takes time to make a baby. It's not buy from the store. But I kind of gave up on that hope because I was 10 years old, and like, did I really think I was going to get a sibling at 10 years old? And I remember coming home, we were in the parking lot. I had just won the 4th grade spelling bee. And the word was rewrite, which is very also.
Nerd alert. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. I won the 4th grade spelling bee. My mother was in the front row, and I was like beyond excited. Obviously, I didn't think I was going to win. I came all the way to the end. I got my plaque. I took the photo with the local paper. We're now in the parking lot. My mother, between the door and then the car, my mother and I are walking, and she's like, "I have some news for you." And I said, "Well, great, but can you save it? Because I want to go, because basically I won the spelling bee, so it's my day, right? I want to go to the store. I want to buy some stuff because I want to and I'm like, whatever you have to tell me can wait." But she's like, "Okay, well, I want to let you know that I'm pregnant." And she said I'm pregnant, as opposed to like, you're going to have a brother or a sister, or you're going to become a sibling, because I was mature. She's like, "I am pregnant." And I was like, and so immediately I remember jumping for joy, and like everything about what had happened until then, like the fact that I just won the 4th grade spelling bee should have been like the most important thing that happened to me all year. But now I had something even more exciting to look forward to, which was the fact that I was going to finally get my brother or sister. And my brother and I are super close. He's 11 years pretty much younger than I am, but we are very close, and it was the best gift, the best day, the most vivid day of my adolescence, I think, was that news, getting that news in the parking lot at the Shrewsbury Elementary School.
I love that. And
yeah,
I know it wasn't in one of the questions that I sent you, but now I'm really curious. So I will go out of the list of questions.
Do it.
That's my way of kind of digging deeper into your life. So do you think these small these small moments, these small memories, these small defining moments, I should say, do you think they shape our lives in as significant manner as people think they do? Because
100%, yes. I think that so much of, as a parent, that's all. It's a lot of responsibility, and I feel the pressure of making sure that, you know, my children's experiences between 0 and 10 are positive and filled with lessons, and not just easy lessons, like hard lessons too. Like, I don't want them to get things handed to them, and I want them to know what it's like to experience delaying gratification and, you know, talking about the hard things. And I think that, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I think like 90% of who I am is rooted in the experiences and the environment that I had from 0 to probably 15 or 16. I think once you're in high school and you're looking ahead, but even still, I feel like my community very much influences me, but not to the degree of the exposure that I got when I was younger. You're very easily influenced when you're 7, 8, 9 years old. And, you know, those impressions are significant. And especially for me, and we can get into it later, but like as a child of immigrants, I was very different. We moved a lot too. So I felt like every 3, 4 years, I was the new girl. And so what does that mean? That comes with it, whether you like it or not. It's like a survival skill, right? You have to like introduce yourself and find a way to connect with people. And when you're 7 and 8, all you want is to be accepted. You don't want to be different at 7 or 8. So the challenge for me was always trying to find a way to assimilate. And unfortunately for me at that age, it also meant reconciling with my differences. And I didn't like the fact that my parents didn't speak English as a first language, that they cooked weird food, that they didn't let me sleep over at my friends' houses because culturally that was weird to them, and that I had to like always find these ways to like cover up to my friends, at least, to say like, oh, but we're just like you, but I can't do all these things, but we're just like you, and please accept me. That was a huge hurdle for me, and I'm embarrassed to say that as a kid, I wasn't as proud as I am today of my culture and my heritage and my differences, but I think it's also normal as a child to not really be able to appreciate that. And my parents tried, you know, they weren't like allowing me to ignore who I was. Like, they would speak Farsi to me in front of all my friends, whether I liked it or not, and I didn't like it, but they were like, this is who we are, right? And they almost like, you know, shoved it in my face sometimes just to make a point. Like, this is who we are. You can't escape it. And someday you'll appreciate it. My dad always would say things like, one day you will know how great it is that we are in this country. Like, the fact that we're here and not in Iran was literally the choice of one person here to give me a job. And I was able to get that job and stay on that job and get the visa and then later the citizenship. But like, it was really just a series of events, and we're so fortunate, you know, that you're not living in a country that would have to force you to cover your hair and maybe not get an education as much as you are on the track to get, and not be able to have the friendships that you do and the experiences that you have and the freedom that you have. And I was like, whatever, Dad, I don't, you know, I'm going to go play with my friends now. And I get it now, obviously.
Oh, and someone would now look at you and think, you know, she's got it all perfect, right? Everything is perfect in her life. She doesn't have to, she probably didn't have to struggle. And if they came to you and said, you know, I'm lost and I'm broken and I don't have a support system, I'm at the end of my rope, and I want to be like you, what would be your best piece of advice to someone like that who is completely done, they have nothing going for them, and they want to be you?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, first I give them a hug. And I would say, relax. You know, assuming you're living in these here fine states, I'd say, look, we're in a country that, regardless of what's happening politically right now, we're kind of a mess. But relatively speaking, we are a land of rich resources, and maybe we don't have the people that I had the fortune of being around that supported me. You have to go out there now and find your community. And And your community doesn't have to be your immediate friends and family and people that will meet you for coffee every day or like take your phone calls. It could just be people that you find online, that you read their bios and you listen to them on podcasts and they start to inspire you. I would say so much of who I am is, yes, it's based on who I've had the fortune of having in my immediate life, but also the people that I have discovered whom I've never met, who've led by example, and I've followed them. And I remember being in my 20s and trying to figure out my roadmap, my own blueprint for success. Nobody I knew was a financial journalist who had, and I didn't even know really all I wanted to be, but I knew that I wanted to be successful and pursue journalism to the utmost. And so I identified people in the field that I never met, but I admired from a distance, and I studied them. I followed their footsteps. All their bios are online. You can connect some dots that way and start to get the inspiration and get the wheels turning that way. Your mentors don't have to be people who, again, take your phone calls and meet with you for coffee all the time. They could be some people that you never meet, but continue to inspire you. So, and that's accessible to all of us. So as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, you could probably get online and find these people, or like listen to some podcasts, listen to your podcast.
I agree.
Inspiration is everywhere. And ultimately, I would say too that you have to want it more than anyone.
Yes.
More than anyone in your community, like your friends and family and can tell you you're great, you got it, go for it, you have nothing to lose. It all may ring true to you, but if you actually don't believe that in yourself, you're never going to get there.
Absolutely. So, oh my God, I love this.
Yeah.
And on that note, let me ask you, what if you wake up tomorrow and you are that person? What if you wake up tomorrow and you don't have all the things that you have right now? You don't have all the books. You're not hosting a show on CNBC. You're not writing a column for Oprah. You don't have the book, the business status, anything. How would you start to build your status back up? And financial journalism, we talk about financial journalism. There aren't a lot of examples out there for you to follow, right? What would you do to build yourself back up? What is the first thing you will do to build?
First thing I would do is I would start writing. I would start sharing my voice. And for me, that would be through writing. Now it's through TV and podcast and writing, but start somewhere where you can create a platform for yourself. There are websites out there, whether that's like starting your own blog or Medium or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Create a stage for yourself where you can say things and express your feelings and your thoughts and your ideas and create a following. And that's ultimately what I think is an essential ingredient for anybody out there who wants to be recognized, appreciated, successful, followed, admired. You need to not just be a source of facts, but you need to be someone that can inspire and has a point of view, whether that's something that
has an opinion. Leaders have opinion.
Right. I'll take a page out of my friend's my friend James Altucher, who's a very prolific writer and has a podcast, and he has a huge following. He's like a celebrity. If you know him, you know him well. And for him, he's always reinventing himself, but his latest bout with success started with him just waking up every morning and writing the hard stuff, like not writing the fluffy things, but like really being out there and opening up all his wounds, talking about things that were uncomfortable to read, but you couldn't stop reading because he's lived a very incredible life. And I think that, so if anything you can share that gets you to a vulnerable place, people really love that, appreciate that. It makes you relatable. I think the more you practice that, it's the first thing you can do to get yourself out there. And also in the process, learning about yourself, right? Yeah. Getting to really understand, how do I feel about things, and how would I articulate everything that's in my head concisely and
it's funny you say this, but because I remember I hear this a lot where people are like, oh, you have such a good way with words. Oh, you write really well. And basically I tell them that a lot of that, I remember Facebook embarrasses the hell out of you when it shows you all those memories, when it tells you all these posts that you shared 7 years ago. And I I wrote such pathetic, generic posts 7 years ago, but because I kept at it, because you keep writing and you keep expressing your opinion, like you said, you discover yourself and you realize, okay, I have this specific style, I have this specific opinion, but you don't have an opinion. You don't have this prolific writing capability right out the gate. You develop it over the years.
Yes.
And if you don't believe me, you should you should start writing and then let Facebook remind you in 2 years how horrible you were.
Yeah.
And then how you improved.
Look, if writing is not your thing, video.
Yes.
Yes. You could do videos. You could do a podcast. You could
absolutely.
You could just do images on Instagram. I mean, look, there's a lot of ways to express yourself now, but start expressing yourself. And I think that's.
And I love this. You said now, and that's kind of my question to you as well. Do you think? And I have a sneaking suspicion the answer will be yes. But correct me if I'm wrong. Establishing yourself as a subject matter expert now is faster and easier than it was 7 years ago.
I think we now know what it takes and what the market expects from experts. So we know like the checklist of things. You got to get this accreditation. You want to be published here. You want to have these many followers. I mean, that's. And not all those things apply, but that's a general list of things that people aspire to. Like you want a best-selling book, you want to have a business that's viable. And now it's easier for people to verify your expertise.
Yes.
Right? So it's just as easy to become an expert. It's just as easy to be outed as a non-expert, right? So I think yes, but at the same time, I think because of the accessibility of achieving expert status, there are many experts out there, more than maybe there were as many as there were in the 80s.
Yeah, there's more noise, absolutely.
There's more noise. So how do you stand out? How do you? And I do think that longevity has a lot to do with it. Certainly, there are like. Even people who are like overnight successes, they're not overnight successes. They've been at this for 10 years. Yeah. Maybe the last 2 years things have sped up because the momentum has caught up and now they know what works and they're doing more of what works. But people who have like 1 million Instagram followers, how many of those followers are really engaged? I don't know. It to some extent the numbers are something that people latch onto, like your social media followers, your list size, your books, how many books you've sold, that's quantitative and has value. But I think there's also your expert, you also want to have good relationships. You want to be somebody who's in tune with your audience, who is authentic. There's there's more to it than just like the digit.
Yeah, you can't hide anymore. It's not that kind of scares me. That aspect does scare me. You've done a lot of things right. As in you have a stellar track record. I don't know whether you worked on erasing all the lame things that you did from the internet or whether it's really, truly stellar, but you really have a really solid record. You did not answer that question where I said whether you worked on erasing all the lame things that you did. So I'm assuming that did you do that? Did you? Because I have a few things to erase as well. If you know someone who can help me.
Thank you for saying that. That's so sweet, and I'm very proud of my career. I used to say things like, "Oh, I was really lucky." Luck has a lot to do with it, but I think the thing that I will give myself the most credit for is being able to spot opportunities. And sometimes things don't present themselves really as opportunities, but it takes a certain kind of forward thinking to go, if I do this, even though it may not seem worth my time or my effort, I know how to leverage this. I know, I want to do this because I want to extract this specific experience from this, which will teach me something that I can't learn anywhere else. So, and I've done that throughout my career. Things that I don't maybe talk about in my bio is that I had a lot of like shit jobs, that I took because I wanted the experience. I'm a continuous learner. Like I will pay money, I will invest time to learn things. And I'm not the smartest, I'm not the quickest, but I'm a quick read. I will say that. Like but I have to go through the process. I have to learn it. I have to be told what to do. I'm not intimidated by following directions. I'm not intimidated by, studying things.
You are a teacher's pet.
I'm a teacher's pet. I was the girl who sat on the front row and raised her hand and assignment early and annoyed people because they were like, oh, she's raising the bar for everybody else.
You're Hermione. You are.
Right.
Hermione.
Oh God, I am Hermione. But I love Emma Watson. I think she's amazing.
I think she's amazing. I think the series should be called Hermione, not Harry Potter, but that's another topic. You've done. So like I said, you have a stellar record. What are the three things? So you said that you have an innate ability to spot opportunities, right? So that's kind of an innate ability. But what were the three things that you did consciously that gave you the biggest return on investment? So there are many things that you do. You shoot in the dark, you try, and knowing a nerd knows a nerd when she sees one. So I can see that you probably also look at things, you know what, let me give it a shot. So you probably tried, 220 different things. But if you were to give me three things that gave you the biggest return on investment for your business or your books or your influence or your growth, what would those three things be? First,
graduate school. This isn't for everybody, but my undergrad was at Penn State University. I studied finance. Along the way, before I graduated, I was like, I don't want to go work at Goldman Sachs, even though that would be pretty awesome. The pay would be great. I want to actually tell the stories about money as opposed to managing the money. And I knew that I needed more education for that. I didn't want to backtrack and change my degree. So I said, let me just finish out my degree. I actually do like finance, but I want to use it in a different way. So I strategically applied to graduate schools for journalism. I applied to 3 schools, NYU, Northwestern, and Columbia. I didn't think I was going to get into Columbia. It was like, I threw in the application. I got in, and I have, not only am I good, Bushra, at figuring out what is an opportunity, but I have this thing where when things happen to me that are so exciting, my life flashes before my eyes. And my life, I'm going to give you the 3 times where my life flashed before my very eyes. And one was when I got the acceptance letter to Columbia, because I just knew that was going to be my ticket, at least for the beginning of my career, to get the formal education,
the tag and the status
that comes with status. It was permission to move to New York City, which is an expensive city, and I have no business being there unless I had a really good reason to be there. And that was, who could argue with going to graduate school in New York City? So it was this really scary place, but within an unscary place like school. So I was able to kind of dip my toes into New York City in a way that was safe and measured. So that was the thing. And to this day, this has been a return on investment, because the relationships that I made in school, I have friends who have gone on to, help we all are in a very helping, that's the first thing we want to do, is help each other get jobs, get connected. And that's been invaluable.
And also, I think the character building. So there are those subtle effects on your personality that you don't really realize. But that perseverance, the character building, that kind of happens. And again, a good school versus a not so good school, I think that it's a very subtle difference, but I think the difference is there. So and you can see that. And obviously that is in the tag.
And had I gone to Northwestern or NYU, I think I would have had an awesome experience at any of those schools. But what really drew me to Columbia, besides the fact that it was the #1 school, was that it was only a 10-month program versus 1.5 to 2 years everywhere else. And I just wanted to get out there working, because I just knew that the quicker I could get through this part, the faster I could just do what I actually wanted to do, which was get out there and make.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Thing number two.
Number 2 was when I was working my low-paying jobs outside of grad school, finding side hustles within my career. So I worked full-time, first at a magazine, then at a news station. In each case, I wasn't making that much money. I wanted to continue to get my voice out there. And so I started writing for a local paper, and quite often I was writing 2-3 times for this local paper. It wasn't even so much the money. The money was helpful, But I think that habit of writing and writing and writing and writing,
Yes.
that then was a great investment of my time because it turned into a book, which is number 3 on the list, which was writing that book and getting it out there. It was my first book, You're So Money, Live Rich Even When You're Not. It took on a life of its own. I mean, for me, I thought the best thing that could have happened was maybe I could like get some speaking gigs, or maybe it would lead to another book. But I had no idea that it would actually save my career, in the sense that in 2008, the book came out. 2009, I lost my job because everybody was losing their job.
Yes.
At that time frame. It was the great financial recession. And I had this period of doubt and insecurity when I lost my job. And then I thought, wait a minute, I have this book that for the last year has been building all this momentum, getting me press, and I've been doing television, and people are reading it and getting to know who I am. And I was like, screw jobs. I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to use this book as my parachute to land on my feet and to create my own sort of like business and have this book be a way for me to be entrepreneurial. And it has, and I mean, it's been like, I credit everything to taking that. I don't even call it a risk. It was,
I love that.
So lucky to get a book deal, really.
It's such a good segue into kind of going into, because most people like me, for example, we build a business and then people would ask you, okay, so do you have a book? And then you kind of get pressured into writing a book, like I was, because everyone was like, they were like, you're not truly an expert unless you have a book, right? But you did it the other way around. You did the book first, and from the book, you built a business.
Right.
And I love that. And I know that you also coach people on this. And I think that's a very interesting, I should call it, I don't know whether I should call it that, and correct me, but that could be a very interesting shortcut to building your business, because you have the expert status, you have the book, and then you create your business on top of the book. It may not be shortcut in the sense it's not make money overnight, it's not make 6 figures in 3 months,
right.
But you don't have to prove yourself to anyone, because you already have the book and now you're building your business on top of it. Whereas someone like me, when I started, I had to spend the first 3-4 months just proving to people that I know my shit, right? So tell me a little bit about that, because I think that's a very interesting way to build a business.
Yes, it's not the way everyone wants to do it or needs to do it. If you are someone who has a business already and has always wanted to write a book, then I can help you. And I do think that there is, like you said, an instant validation that comes with being an author. It's the ultimate business card. You don't need a resume anymore. You've got the book and your bio's on the back and your ideas are inside. So that's your body of work in a nutshell. And it's a great way to kind of break the ice or introduce yourself to somebody, but also to validate yourself and what you do. And now I think when I wrote the first book 10 years ago, we're coming on 10 years, it was the way to do it. Write the book and then become the expert. Now, with so much competition, publishers don't want to really take the risk anymore of publishing someone who is relatively unknown, at least not like the big deals. So I was very fortunate to have been at the time someone who wanted to do it that way. These days, it's more like you go to a publisher and they're like, okay, who are you? You have a great idea, but really, who are you? Like, who knows you? Like, how is this book going to sell? They're more focused on the marketing and the sales and the author as expert before they are the idea. That's my perspective. So if you are somebody who wants to elevate your career and not just, work with clients the rest of your life, but you want to find new audiences, you want to get on a stage, you want to have a show, you want to have a column in a magazine, you want to be a go-to expert in your field, not just for the people in your community, but worldwide, I think a book can be a great vehicle to do that. And it's not the only way you can do it. You can do it through a podcast, you can do it through YouTube, you can do it through social media, but a book is something that is very special. It's not easy to do. And I think is something for a lot of people is just a bucket list thing. And it was for me. I've written multiple books. Some people don't want to be authors, but they want to get that book out there just to kind of expedite and deliver their ideas in a fast way, and then like really leverage the book to get the press, to get the speaking gigs, to get on television, because that does ultimately lead to more opportunities for your business. Because when someone's considering hiring you or working with you, what are they going to do? They're going to Google you. And if they see that you've got a best-selling book, that you've been on the stage, that people call upon you, that you're in demand, that is going to increase your own sort of equity, right? Your brand equity. You can command more for your consulting, your products, your services.
I love that. And yes, I am experiencing that, even though the book is, I had never in my wildest dreams imagined how well it would do, even though I did it only because, honestly, it was a kind of bucket list item. Let me just cross it off my list, but I'm just amazed at how well it's doing. So thank you so much, first of all, Farnoosh, for talking to me, for taking the time. Please tell us a little bit about your program, about what you help people with specifically when it comes to taking a book and then kind of building a whole subject matter expert status on the back of that book. So tell us a little bit about that, please.
Thank you. So I'm very excited. Book to Brand is the workshop that I've created. It's in New York City. It's a live 2-day event where we invite applicants to come, and these people are, if you are a subject matter expert, everyone from like a veterinarian who's an expert in animals, to a stylist, to a chef, to a business coach, and everyone in between, people who have established themselves in their fields in great ways. And like you said, they want to write that book to get to the next level because they want to get out there more, they want to reach more people, they want to have influence, and they just really want to do it through a book. The biggest question I've gotten over the last few years as far as people coming up to me is not so much, Farnoosh, can you help me with my money? It's, Farnoosh, how did you become you? And so as we talked about, for me, my process was the book writing and how that has helped to catapult my career. And I want to teach people how to do that. This live 2-day workshop invites you to New York, where you'll get to learn the process of book writing. We will workshop your idea. You will meet literary agents. You will meet publishers who are there to meet you. It's a small group, no more than 10 people.
I love that.
You meet people from the big media companies in New York, Time, the Today Show, Good Morning America, coming to talk about how they like to work with authors. We'll meet people who have leveraged their books to mainly become speakers. If that's something you want to learn how to do, they will tell you the ins and outs of that, how they negotiate their deals, how they find their opportunities. You'll learn how to also parlay your expertise into brand partnerships. So I work closely with a lot of brands, JP Morgan Chase, Airbnb, TJ Maxx, like retailers, banks, online companies, and a lot of them like to partner with me because I talk about money, and it's great for them to kind of build a bridge between what they're doing and their customers by using me as somebody of influence to share their message, incorporating my advice. It's a win-win, and it's very lucrative. So I talk about how to do that. I bring in the people from these branding worlds to share with the audience. How do you get in touch with them?
I think this is such a brilliant offer.
It's a brilliant, it's a high ticket event because I think the people you're going to meet can change your life. The people that I have met over the course of my career, I am literally delivering them to you on a silver platter over 2 days.
Awesome. Saying,
here you go, connect, make magic. And there's a cocktail event at the end where I invite everybody from the workshop, as well as some other mediarati from New York City. They all know that they're there.
This is such a brilliant offer, because most often you would see it's either PR opportunities or write a book, right? But I've never seen, maybe it's because I'm not exposed to such offers, but I've never seen something that is so holistic that basically captures everything that you need. If you are a business owner or you are a subject matter expert and you want to kind of seal that deal, get that validation and get the book and get all these opportunities, I think this is bloody genius.
Thank you. It's fun. I thought about doing an online course, I'm very much, I thrive in person. I like doing live things. I used to be a producer. I used to be a performer. I'm like, this is my jam. I like to bring people together, host it, you know, be the moderator, make the relationships happen. And for me, I have found my sweet spot offering.
Oh my God. It is a sweet spot offering. Thank you so much. We'll link out to
thank you. Book2brand.co.
Okay, book2brand.co for everyone to, and we'll also link it out. But thank you so much, Farnoosh. This has been so amazing. It was good to see the Farnoosh behind the podcast and behind the show, and I loved hearing your stories. I'm also going to go Google your brother because now I'm curious.
He's smart. Yeah, Todd. His name is Todd. So it just captures the, you know, where my parents were in their immigration. So I was Farnoosh, fresh off the boat, and then, you know, 10 years later, they've become they've learned the language, they've assimilated, and now they've named their second child.
I love that. I will go check it out. Check him out. Thank you so much, Farnoosh. Thank you so much for talking.
Thank you, Bushra. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.